Hi, everybody. It's the Body Bag. Wow, what a weekend. Jeremy Stevens versus Josh Emmett. That was just under 2 rounds, and it was exciting. I mean, the first round, let's not even get into all the controversy yet. Let's talk about the first round. Josh tagged Jeremy, dropped him on the ground. Jeremy survived that first round, came out in the second round, landed a shot, dropped Josh, and then the controversy started. I mean, Josh was pretty much gone after that shot. The rest was just kind of like gravy on the mashed potatoes. But what happened, which if the people that haven't seen the fight, is Jeremy, he landed a couple elbows with Josh on the ground. It kind of looks like Josh moved his head with his face down towards Jeremy. When Jeremy dropped the two elbows, clearly landed on the back of the head. That's illegal. And then Jeremy threw a knee, either grazed the side of the head or did not touch the side of the head, but when the knee came down, it tapped the back of the head, and that's illegal. So in a court of law, it doesn't matter how hard the strike is. If it's an illegal strike, especially with the knee to the back of the head, that's an automatic disqualification. Now, you look at this in real time. We don't know what angle really the ref had. The ref, it's just chaos going on. So I know that, Josh's camp is blaming the ref. He didn't do his job. At the end of the day, Josh got smashed. He wasn't going to come back and win that fight. And in the heat of the moment, you just can't see everything. Yes, I believe he had 3 illegal shots to Josh, 2 forearms to the back of the head, and 1 knee that came down to the back of the head. But moving forward from that, it appears, I haven't confirmed, but it appears that Josh, from the elbows he took when he was on his back, has some facial fractures, which is a shame. He actually was taken out on a stretcher, which nobody wants to see. But at the end of the day, both fighters, they just let it all go. I stated last week it would probably only go about 3 rounds out of the 5. Well, guess what? It was under 2 rounds. It was just wild. And then prior to that fight, well, you guys know we had the ladies. And the ladies started to put on a show in the first round, but then after that, it was just completely dominated by the Brazilian. She was too strong. She was too physical. And that's it. I mean, she has fought at 135, but now since she's at 115, it's going to be hard. She's going to get another title fight. She's more comfortable now at this weight. She's adjusted to this weight. So between Joanna and Rose, whoever wins that one, they're going to be fighting her. And that is going to be one hell of a fight. I want to talk a little bit about the Chris Cyborg fight. She took it on short notice. I'm sure they paid her well for that. And the lady that she'll be fighting, they finally put out a lot of press the last 7-8 days. A couple weeks ago, there really wasn't much on her. She's fighting out of Jackson's camp in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So she's in one of the top camps in the world. She is very athletic. She looks very athletic. She is very athletic. She has a taekwondo background and a boxing background. She actually has a little bit of a jiu-jitsu game. She's good on her back. She actually is very aggressive in her guard, and she does a lot of work. She reminds me of Holly Holmes. Physically, she reminds me of Holly Holmes. The stand-up with the boxing and taekwondo, Holly Holmes. She's good size. I mean, she is all muscle. She's long. She has that puncher's chance, against Cyborg. Of course, we all know how it went when Holly fought Cyborg. Holly just got pounded. Cyborg kind of eased into that fight. Even though it went to 5 rounds, she just kind of eased into it and got her distance and then landed some power shots, and that put Holly on the defense. Cyborg's face, I didn't even see a mark. It might have been some marks, but I mean, really, she didn't take any damage in that fight. So this could be Holly Holmes 2. We'll see. The lady does have that, puncher's chance with her stand-up background. Again, I hope Dana's watching this fight, because like I said before, if the Rocky story happens and Cyborg gets tagged and she goes down, that's going to cost a lot of revenue right there. So, yeah, they'll have a rematch, but we all want to see Cyborg on the super card that they're going to put together for the UFC Expo. So I'm very interested in seeing, A, if Holly Holmes gets hurt, and B, can she just end this in a round or two, get out of there, and just stay out of the ring until she gets that super fight with Nuez, which everybody wants to see. I'd like to hear from the fans and what they think about Cyborg taking this fight and not waiting until July for UFC. Well, let's talk about Frankie Edgar and Brian Ortega. They're on that card this Saturday, UFC 222. And the more film I see on Brian, the better I like him. Now they've put a couple young guys in front of Frankie lately, and he's taken them to school. But this Brian, he will be a superstar. There's no doubt about it. He has probably the best jiu-jitsu in the game. I know prior podcasts I was saying the wrestler will beat the jiu-jitsu, but what I'm saying is his stand-up is excellent, and it's improved every fight. So now I'm thinking, okay, we have this young kid with nothing to lose and all to gain, has some of the best jiu-jitsu in the UFC, quick as lightning on his triangles and all of his submissions, and he's just not afraid to try bizarre moves which I haven't seen before. His hands are fast and he's accurate. He does. I'm not saying he can't knock Frankie out. He doesn't have the power Frankie has. So I'm a little concerned for Frankie. I know Frankie's going to have to throw some punches to set up the takedown. I believe if he takes the kid down, he can keep him down. But if the kid somehow takes Frankie down, then Frankie's in big trouble. So we're going to see how this goes. Brian was saying, you know what? If he wants to stand up and bang, I'll stand up and bang. But we all know how fights go. Whoever gets hit first, usually they throw their game plan away. Whoever gets the first good power punch and feels the other person's strength. But this will be a barn burner. I mean, we have Frankie, who's known for his cardio. So he will not gas. He will go 110% for 5 rounds and will never skip a beat. We don't know about this young kid. I mean, he hasn't gone 5 rounds, but he's in great shape. He's young. He's not heavy. He's lean. He's long and lean for that weight. So I really don't see the kid gassing. So let's see. Will Frankie be able to achieve what he did his last fight and taking the young kid and picking him up and slamming him on the ground and pounding him till his eye was closed? I mean, is that going to happen? Or is this young kid going to land a shot and rock Frankie and then take him out? This one, the more film on Brian, the closer this fight is. Right now, I'm calling this fight 60-40 Frank. Last week, it was 70-30. By Saturday, it could be a coin toss. I want to know what the fans think about this fight. Well, I'd like to give some updates. John Jones had a hearing in LA yesterday. Didn't go well for John Jones at all. In fact, his team didn't do much to defend him. It wasn't good for John Jones. They fined him $205,000. They took his license away, and now he goes to USADA. And if that hearing goes well, then it's a possibility he can go back to the hearing in the hearing in LA, and maybe get reinstated after a certain time to get his license back. But right now they just slammed the door on John Jones, and some of the so-called experts say they still feel that he could be fighting within 18 months. So that's another year and a half. I mean, that's a long time to be out. I mean, he could be out 2.5, 3 years before he fights. I don't know. He's a great athlete, but this is what happens to fighters. I've seen it over and over and over. They go in the ring, they look like a Greek god. They're just in fantastic shape. They look like they can just take anybody down anytime. But what happens through Father Time, and I'm talking through experience on this, is the first thing that goes is your reaction time. You just can't get off first anymore. That's just it. You cannot get off first anymore. And once your reaction time, and we're talking, milliseconds, just a blink of an eye. When that reaction time through age slows down, you're done, unless you're a heavyweight. Because, heavyweights, it's a whole different ball game. You don't need reaction time when you're a heavyweight. They're just big sluggers trying to land the one shot. So I'm concerned that if John Jones comes back, he is not even going to be close to the same John Jones. But we'll see how this all goes. Well, it looks like Chuck Liddell's the Iceman, who's my favorite fighter of all time. It looks like he's getting closer to fighting Tito again. They fought twice, and it looks like they may fight, a third time. So we'll see when they actually set this up and officially release it. I mentioned before in another podcast that, you have 2 guys that are over the hill. But you know what? These 2 guys are going to put a show on because both of them, their egos are larger than this planet. So the first round is going to be amazing. Now, if either of them can make it into the second round without gassing, that's another story. But as far as I'm concerned, I want to see this fight. I want to see the first round of this fight. That's what I really want to see, how this thing goes. I'd like to know what the fans think about bringing in the Over the Hill gang for one more fight. In the last update, Brock Lesnar, it's all over the place. It looks like he wants to come back. He tested positive for basically steroids. His last fight against Mark Hunt, who is suing the UFC and all that great stuff. But hey, he wants to come back. I'm sure he'll test clean, at least all the way to the fight. After the fight, who knows what he'll test. I don't think he really cares because he doesn't need the money. That's for sure. But he wants to come back. He wants to fight. He gasses. So whoever he fights, I don't think it'll go 3 rounds. As far, he's just been in and out of the game. The cardio for fighting in the UFC is completely different than the cardio that he's doing in wrestling. But he's gonna. I'm pretty sure he's coming back. Dana wants it. I know he does. It's a big draw. It's a lot of hits, a lot of money, and I believe Brock Lesnar's coming back, people. So we'll just find out who he ends up fighting. Wouldn't it be funny if DC wins and he ends up fighting DC? That'd be hilarious. Anyways, hey, this is the Body Bag. I'm out, and I will talk to you next week. Thank you.